and welcome back to this channel. So today we have to discuss about the international relations, what were the current affairs, what was in the news from last 1 year, and it is the fourth class related to it. So let's discuss it without wasting any time. First topic which we have to discuss is India-Sri Lanka relationship. As we know, from last 2 years, Sri Lanka had faced huge economic turmoil, and India paved, India helped them in this critical situation. So let's discuss more about it and discuss more about the news, more about this relationship which had featured from last 1 year. Without wasting any time, let's go to the slide. Let us see what is the information given here. As we can see here, India and Sri Lanka released a statement titled Promoting Connectivity, Catalyzing Prosperity, India Sri Lanka Economic Partnership Vision. Today's discussion is majorly based on the connectivity and the prosperity in that region. It is related to the agreement signed between Indian government and the Sri Lankan government, and how India would help them in improving their infrastructure, and how India would connect with Sri Lanka in different ways. Also, several memorandum of understandings like operationalizing UPI digital payment in Sri Lanka and designating the Indian rupee as currency for trade, renewable energy, and economic development projects. So, UPI digital payments would be operationalized in Sri Lanka, and also Indian rupee internationalization of Indian rupee would be the one of the key agreements in it, where Indian rupee would be used for trade, renewable energy, and economic development. How this would help our economy in a better way? It would help us in internationalizing our economy, our fiat currency. Also, both countries have decided to start passenger ferry service between Nagapatnam, which is in Tamil Nadu, and Ganeshanturai in Sri Lanka. As we know, India and Sri Lanka we share a historic background too. We had the relationship since ancient times. Our relationship has improved in many ways. Our sailors from Tamil Nadu region, they used to go there, and they used to do fishing in that island, and there are many other ways by which we had a great relationship. We have Buddhism, one that separate from India to Sri Lanka. Also, we have a different dimension. In different dimensions, our relationship has improved since times, and we were connected with this nation in a better way. Let's move forward and see what are the other things which we have to discuss in today's discussion. About India and Sri Lanka economic and connectivity ties, what we have discussed about overall trade. India Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement signed. It was signed in 1998, which came into force in 2000. Also, India was Sri Lanka's largest trading partner with an overall bilateral merchandise trade of US 5.4 billion in 2021. And also, India is one of the largest contributors to foreign direct investment in Sri Lanka. So by this we can see how important India is for Sri Lankan development. Also, agreements like Open Sky air bubble arrangements exist to restore air connectivity between the two countries. What are the other areas of convergence between India and Sri Lanka? About trade, two-thirds of the world's oil and half, as we know, before going through this, we know that the strategical importance of Sri Lanka, geographical importance of Sri Lanka, and we know that how much trade passes through its water lines. So regarding that, two-thirds of the world's oil and half of the world's container transportation passes through the south of the Sri Lanka. And also we have geopolitical interest. Sri Lanka is an essential partner in India's neighborhood first policy and Sagar, which is security and growth for all in the region. About military significance, Sri Lanka lies at the junction of the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. It is close to the zone meant for switching of Indian naval fleets. Also, the military exercise called Mitra Shakti and the naval exercise called Selinex are conducted regularly. So about these, we should know they may be asked in the prelims. A question may be framed like this Mitra Shakti, it is the military exercise between India and which country. Maybe they will give in option Sri Lanka, they may give in option any other country. So we should know it is the Mitra Shakti is between India and Sri Lanka. And also naval exercise, it is Selinex, which is conducted regularly between India and Sri Lanka. About cultural significance, both countries share long and historic cultural ties with Buddhism as the common link. Sri Lanka has a substantial Tamil population with close people-to-people ties with Tamils in India. And that, as these were the ties between India and Sri Lanka, there are some divergences in India-Sri Lanka relationship too. Let us discuss about that. There is some Chinese influence also. We have some border disputes. There are some areas which we seceded to them. So let us discuss about that. We have trust deficit. The asymmetric nature of relation between India and Sri Lanka, it played an important role in shaping the majority view against India in Sri Lanka. There is a trust deficit. We are often blamed that we don't keep our promises especially about the development, about our initiatives. We are blamed that we delay our initiatives. We delay the initiation of any agreement which we make. And about also there is huge fishing disputes. Many Indian Tamils were killed by Sri Lankan Navy, and that paved the way for the tension. The militancy there. India, Sri Lanka accused that the militancy in Sri Lanka, India was the was playing its proxy war through that militancy agency. So there are few disputes also. Let us discuss about that. The incident, as I already discussed, the Sri Lanka Navy firing on Indian fishermen in the Palk Strait, it had led to tensions between the two countries due to disagreements over fishing rights and the use of mechanized trawlers. And also, as I discussed about Kachachitu Islet, an agreement was signed to cede the resource-rich Kachathyu Islet to Sri Lanka, which the Tamilian fishermen had traditional fishing rights for centuries. And other divergences are economic and political crises. As we know, recent crisis has affected the country's ability to engage with India and implement policies that promote economic cooperation and regional stability. We have strategic issues due to increased Chinese presence as part of the maritime Silk Route policy. China built Colombo and Hambantota ports, which is strategically important for India. So these Chinese presence everywhere in our neighborhood is a problem for India. We should know that this is as truth as sun rises from the east. Also, Tamil questions, the issue of Tamil minority rights in Sri Lanka remains a sensitive topic, with India advocating for national reconciliation through a political statement. 13th Amendment of the ethnic issue. 13th Amendment to allow devolution of power to provinces has not been implemented. So we have the minority Tamilians, Indian Tamilians, they are facing racial problems there. They are facing money problems there. So this is one of the issue between Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka and India. So this was about the divergence part. Now let's discuss how India helped Sri Lanka in the 2022 economic crisis. As we can see it here, India was the first country to hand over its letter of support for financing and debt restructuring of Sri Lanka to the International Monetary Fund. Also, India has extended nearly 4 billion US dollars in food and financial assistance to Colombo, including currency swaps and credit lines. Also, India dispatched several shipments of essentials such as fuel, food, and fertilizers to its neighborhood. And also, India had in-depth talks with Sri Lankan government, IMF, and Paris Club, through which debt relief and finances were finalized. So, India played a great role in helping Sri Lanka during its economic crisis 2022. Now, without wasting any time, let's move to the next topic of today's discussion. It is India and France. We should know before going, we had a great friendship with France, and they are the second highest defense contributors to our country. So we should know that. Let us discuss more about it. We mark the 25th year of their strategic relations between India and France in their recent meeting, outlining the trajectory of their bilateral ties to 2047, and also launched the Horizon 247 framework. So on the 25th year of their strategic relationship between India and France, which was held recently, Horizon 2047 framework was launched. About Horizon framework, it includes sectors from defense, nuclear energy, and space to eliminating single-use plastic and a 5-year Schengen visa. Also, the two nations adopted three pillars focusing on security, planet, and people, guiding to bilateral ties for the next 25 years. Also, we should know that the two countries also reinforced ties on critical technology, especially in artificial intelligence and quantum computing, among others. What were the key outcomes of the visit of this meeting? And the joint commitment to eliminate single-use plastic products pollution, including a ban on single-use plastic products for the environmental concerns, and also a roadmap for the Indo-Pacific was adopted, and also opening of the Consulate General of India in Marseille and a Bureau de France in Hyderabad was announced. France to support the second phase of Indian program on sustainable cities, that is Cities 2.0, co-financed with Germany and the European Union. So this we should know that who are financing the Cities 2.0. It is France, Germany, and European Union. Also, head of the agreement between Indian Oil Corporation Limited and Total Energies Gas and Power Limited to establish a long-term LNG sale and purchase agreements. So these were the few outcomes of that. Let us recap it one more time. It was for elimination of single-use plastic, which to reduce the pollution, to reduce the environmental pollution. We adopted Indo-Pacific roadmap for Indo-Pacific was adopted. Also, India to open its consulate general in Marseille and Bureau de France in Hyderabad, by which would be opened by France, and also France would support India's sustainable cities program, which is Cities 2.0, which is co-financed by European Union and Germany, and the head of agreement between Indian Oil Corporation Limited and Total Energies Gas and Power Limited to establish a long-term LNG sale and purchase agreements. Now let's discuss what are the convergences between India and France relations. It helps, as we know, France is the second largest distributor of defense to India, so it helps us in modernization of the defense sector. France has been instrumental in assisting India's defense modernization efforts through technology transfers, enabling indigenous production capabilities and joint ventures. Also, France has emerged as the second largest exporter of defense equipment to India, like P-75 Scorpion technology transfer and Rafale aircrafts are some major examples which we already know. And also economic cooperation, France is the 11th largest foreign investor in India. We should know that. They may ask question related to France. So It is the 11th largest foreign investor in India with a total FDI stock of USD 10,389 million from April 2000 to September 2022. Also, India's NPCI International Payments Limited and France's Lyra Collect signed an agreement to roll out UPI in France and Europe. Let's move forward. We have relationships like countering terrorism. Both countries have resolved to work together for the adoption of the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism in the UN, strengthening development agencies. France Development has allocated 200 million euros to support welfare measures and the most vulnerable sections of society in India. So we can see how France is important for our development, and also we have relationship in tackling climate change, like launched the International Solar Alliance, which is a dedicated platform for cooperation among solar resource-rich countries. Also, strategic autonomy. France-India strategic relationship is built on respect for each other's strategic autonomy. We don't see often that, like US, they would try to interfere in the domestic matters of India. For example, we had seen when uh, Constitutional Amendment Act related to citizenship was passed, they made US made comments about that. We don't see such interference from France. We have that we respect each other's strategic autonomy. And also Indian corporation, for example, France supports India's claim for permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council and UN reforms, which India has advocated from years. Also, they helped India's accession to the Missile Technology Control Regime, Wasinagar Arrangement, and Australia Group. And we have geostrategic relationship also. Both countries are committed to ensuring a free and rule-based Indo-Pacific region. In India, in 2018, India and France agreed on a joint strategic vision of India-France cooperation in Indian Ocean region. Also, under this roadmap, the two sides decided to work on finalizing an Indo-French Development Fund for third countries. Also, a trilateral grouping with the United Arab Emirates aims to ensure security for the east coast of Africa to the Pacific. From this discussion, we understand that France's how strategically important is France for us, how they had helped us in developing our defense sector, and how they are important for us as the kind of relationship we share with them. It is unique. We respect each other's strategic autonomy, and the development initiatives for us is making for India, they are extraordinary. Let's move. Let's see what are the challenges between India and France relations. There are some challenges, as we can see here. France has joined the Belt and Road Initiative of China, which is a red mark for India, whereas India has always opposed the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative of China, as it violates India's territorial integrity and sovereignty. Also, there were some corruption allegations against the middleman related to the delivery of the Rafale plane. Also, we have bilateral trade remains far below potential. The trade with France constitutes only 1.4% of India's total international trade. There are some technical, financial, and civil nuclear liability issues that both sides have to resolve on Jetapur nuclear power reactors. Now let's move to our third important discussion of today's class. It is about a neighborhood first policy of India. In the 22nd report of the Committee on External Affairs on India's neighborhood first policy, it was submitted to the Parliament. Let's discuss about. The policy forges a strong neighborhood relation between a consultative, non-reciprocal, outcome-oriented approach with India's neighbors. It uses the principle of Samman. It uses the principle of Samman, which is respect, Samvad, dialogue, Shanti, peace, Samriddhi, prosperity, and Sanskriti, culture, for better engagement. The policy is required to handle India's external threats better achieve the necessary support in multilateral forums like the UN, curtail Chinese influence in the region, etc. So India's neighborhood policy, it is basically based on uh, in if we can understand in a better way, it is based on the India's aim to become a global leader and how the relation should be with our neighboring countries. As we can see from the principles of it, it is based on respect, dialogue, peace, prosperity, and culture for better engagement. And also aim is to get the support of our neighboring countries in multilateral forums like UN, and also it would help India to curtail Chinese influence in the region. What are the India's initiatives in neighborhood? If we can see, we have some infrastructural projects like road from Delaram to Zaranj and parliament building in Afghanistan, Greater Malay connectivity projects in Maldives. We had given humanitarian assistance, providing doses of COVID-19 vaccines. We help in disaster management assistance during calamities, for example, Operation Maitri in Nepal. We have development assistance given to Bhutans for their 5-year plans, and also easing the financial payment systems by operationalizing UPI payment platform in Sri Lanka and enabling RuPay card usage in Bhutan. These are some of the few initiatives of our neighborhood policy. And let us discuss what are the challenges pertaining to India's neighborhood policy. We can see, as we know, that our neighbors, they are not stable. Our neighborhood is not stable. The volatility in the neighborhood, we can see. We can give the examples of Myanmar, as there is a tripartite civil war going on between their army, their political parties, and the local tribal groups, and also in Pakistan, which is always in crisis. Also, there are some economic crises. For example, in Sri Lanka, we studied that a bit ago, and we know that the Pakistan facing hyperinflation rates after the pandemic. It is the one of the issue economic crisis. Then we have border disputes, like for example in Kashmir between Pakistan and India. Then we have and Kala Pani disputes with Pakistan, with Nepal, and we have maritime disputes with Pakistan and Bangladesh too. Then infiltration and immigration issues from Myanmar, Pakistan, Bangladesh. This is one of the issue. Also issues with our river sharing of river water. For example, Indus and Teesta water sharing is a significant issue with Pakistan and Bangladesh respectively. So these are some of the issues which we face in our neighborhood. What are the committee recommendations for a better neighborhood policy? It includes these following points. We have to improve the border infrastructure. More integrated checkposts, land custom stations, and border huts will be built, improving people to people connection, encouraging tourism, and sharing of the bonds of common culture and history across the neighborhood. As we can see in our Indian subcontinent, we had historical connection with every country in it. So if we want to develop our neighborhood best, we should consider on the cultural linkages between these countries. It may help us in developing better neighborhood. Also, we can see keeping diplomatic doors open with all the neighboring countries to resolve any arising issues, rather going for war or direct confrontation. We can solve the issues by dialogue. Also, we should continue the already taken steps like humanitarian assistance, implementation of development projects, lines of credit, and etc. As we had seen in this year's interim budget, we give financial assistance money of our neighboring countries. We should continue doing that. It would help us in developing our neighborhood relations. As in the previous class, we discussed about the India's security diplomacy. In today's discussion, we will discuss about India's energy diplomacy. Let's see what it is. As it was in news, India is considering trading power with Southeast Asian countries through Myanmar and Thailand as part of the energy diplomacy. Let us discuss what energy diplomacy is. It pertains to the government-related foreign activities that aim to ensure a country's energy security while promoting business opportunities related to the energy sector. Both its country's own energy security is watched well, and also to promote the business opportunities related to energy sector. It seeks to secure a sustainable source of energy for society at a large and economic growth, use energy capacities as an instrument of foreign policy to deter, reduce or eliminate national threats and risks. How is India pursuing energy diplomacy? We have power transmission, part of SAARC Energy Agreement on Electricity Cooperation signed in 2014. India exports power to Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. India has issued the guidelines for import-export cross-border of electricity in 2018. About renewable energy transmission pipe connectivity, we have International Solar Alliance and One Sun, One World, One Grid initiatives to connect different regional grids through a common grid that will be used to transfer renewable energy power. We have Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, TAPI to transport natural gas from Turkmenistan to remaining three countries. We have nuclear energy cooperation, India-US nuclear deal, India-Japan nuclear deal. Also about hydroelectric corporation, India imports power from Tala, Chuka, Kurchu. These are in Bhutan, and Mangdechu hydroelectric power plants in Bhutan. Also, India is, as I had while we discussed India-Bhutan relationship, I told you about to, if you can't remember the names, at least remember the nomenclature, how what are the endings of these words. You can opt for the right answer if you know that. So also India is involved in the projects of Nepal, including the Mekhali Treaty, Mahakali Treaty, the Upper Karnali project, and the Arjun projects in Nepal. So we should know about these projects. They may be asked directly in the exam. It is between they are located in which country, or in how this relationship pertains to which countries. We should know that Mahakali Treaty. It is between India and Nepal. The Upper Karnali project, India is involved in developing this project, and Arjun project in Nepal. So we should know about them also. What are the challenges of India's energy diplomacy? There are some challenges we have sourced from the single region. The share of the Persian Gulf has remained at more than 60% of the total imports of oil and gas. So sourcing from a single region is not always a good strategy. We should have multiple sources. As we know, 60% of the total imports of oil and gas is from the Persian Gulf. So it is one of the challenges to our energy diplomacy. We have power charges, transmission charges on power supplies using an interconnected regional network are challenging to decide. We have technological constraints. The energy sector is highly technology intensive, and this factor has become an integral part of oil and gas development plans over time. We have the issues with the cyber security. The growth of digitalization and interconnectivity in the energy sector can raise the security and privacy risks without an international rule, as there are not much rules based on the cyber security. So this is one of the issue, as there are not much international rules to curb this cyber security. Also, our dependence on coal accounts for nearly 50% of our generation by comparison to renewable sources connected for 43%. Also, energy infrastructure bottlenecks. Developing and maintaining energy infrastructure across borders such as pipelines and transmission grids is challenging. About Solar Alliance, let's discuss more about it. It currently there are no special, as we know, there are no specialized agencies created under the UN system to promote renewable energy. This international solar alliance could become an important tool to promote renewable energy, particularly to promote and deploy solar energy. ISA can induct a multi-dimensional approach to promote science diplomacy for building global solar capacity. India can become a key energy supplier of renewable energy in the future as the Middle East supplies fossil fuel based in the last century. The energy supplied by the Middle East, that is all based on fossil fuels. If we develop this international solar alliance in a better way, we could be the front runners for supplying the energy. Also, ISI International Solar Alliance is evolving as a cooperation platform for India to create global coherence on common standards related to the solar sector. Demand for renewable energy will rise exponentially due to global and national countries achieving net zero emissions, and solar energy can meet these targets as other sources face constraints like wind energy requires high velocity wind, hydroelectricity requires high flow of water. Also, International Solar Alliance has partnered with nearly 32 international organizations to create and mobilize 1,000 billion US dollar investment in the solar sectors in its member countries by 2030. What are the India's alternative model of development? ISI is this International Solar Alliance is India's alternative model of development that is based on values like transparency and inclusive development. With one sun, one world, and one grid, it seeks to develop a global grid of the torrid zone, which is area between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, and overcome the issues of domestic land scarcity, import of solar inputs, and reduce reliance on fossil fuel. So this was about solar alliance. In the last line, we can understand the crux of the discussion. It is about the import of solar inputs and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. About strengthening multilateral development banks. Let us discuss about it. Recently, independent expert group constituted by Indian G20 presidency presented volume 1 of the report on harnessing the potential of multilateral development banks. These multilateral development banks are supranational institutions set up by sovereign states which are their shareholders. Some of the prominent MDBs include the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, New Development Bank, and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Banks. The reports proposed a triple agenda for the MDBs, for as discussed there. It mediates adopting a triple adopting a triple mandate of eliminating extreme poverty, boosting shared prosperity, and contributing to global public goods. Finance triple sustainable lending levels by 2030, and mechanism creating a third funding mechanism that permits flexible and innovative arrangements for purposely engaging with the investors. So it is about the multilateral development banks like World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and all others mentioned. We have the report proposed a triple agenda, which adopting a triple mandate for eliminating extreme poverty, triple sustainable lending levels by 2030. It would help in financing and mechanism creating a third funding mechanism that permits flexible and innovative arrangements for purposely engaging with the investors. What is the significance of these MDBs? We can see international pillar to stabilize the global economy. For instance, MDB, they provide 222 billion during the 2008 global financial crisis, promote growth in developing and underdeveloped countries through projects on infrastructure, energy, education, etc. They provide low-cost, long maturity financing. Spending on sustainable infrastructure in developing countries needs to expand fourfold by 2030. Also, these MDBs can indirectly draw private investment by creating conducive conditions and developing framework for absorbing the investment. What are the issues with the MDBs? We have some structural issues with MDBs, such as outdated framework, the regional focus of some MDBs, insufficient competition and coordination among MDBs, and also increasing demands for development finance. So these are some structural issues. We have some border issue, new cross-border challenges such as climate change, pandemic, fragility, migration, etc. require new financial capacity and approaches. Additional spending of about 3 trillion annually for climate actions and SDGs is needed by 2030 in emerging markets and developing economies other than China. So these are some extra funds required from these MDBs, and this is one of the challenge. Also, we can see financing with riders. MDBs lending is sometimes different from the priorities of emerging economies and comes with high indirect costs related to policy conditionalities, rigid rules, and they have those rigid rules. They want to interfere in the policy if they want to lend to any country. So this is one of the challenge to it. Also, debate on the focus of MDBs. MDBs, non-borrowing shareholders led by US, have pushed MDBs to focus on low-income countries and to graduate middle-income countries from MDB lending as their economies grow and they access international capital market. China's role in these multidimensional banks, we would see with the rising stature of uh, these banks and AIB, China can use these MDBs to pursue its own foreign policy goals. So, role in the New Development Bank and Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, uh, as China's role is increasing in them, China can use these to pursue its own foreign policy. Concerns of global south, as the underdeveloped countries, MDBs have struggled to effectively assess and address problems like supply securitization of food and energy, technology transfer, energy transition, etc. Some of the concerns related to multilateral development banks. So let us discuss about the recommendations to strengthening these multilateral development banks and realize their triple agenda. Change in vision document of each MDBs formally adopt a triple mandate of eliminating poverty, fostering sharing for prosperity, and incorporating GPGs and closely related transboundary challenges to explicitly in their mission statement. Increase the sale of financing, triple the sustainable lending levels of the MDB system by 2030, which are reaching 300 billion per year in own account non-concessional finance and 90 billion per year in concessional finance. G20 members can consider establishing a new global challenge funding mechanism. Also, new flexible legal and institutional mechanisms crowd in coalition of the willing among sovereign donors and non-sovereign investors wishing to be associated with specific multi-development banks. Also, necessary supporting activities outside the MDB system, fostering coherence between MDBs and other parts of the global financial architecture, strengthening domestic resource mobilization for SDGs and climate investment, for example, with more equitable voting shares, a green concessional lending arm for the World Bank may find it easier to raise capital, ensure close coordination between MDBs and the IMF to bridge the microeconomic imperatives of SDG investing. And also operating models. MDBs need to transform their operational and financial business models. Timelines for project preparation should be shrunk and procedure rationalized. For instance, NDB relies on local government approvals, technology, and a thin staff to reduce project approvals time to 6 months compared to 2 to 4 years. The World Bank takes upgrade knowledge and advisory service for sustainable development. Now let's discuss about the next article. It is about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Recently, virtual summit of the Shanghai Corporation Organization was concluded with the signing of the New Delhi Declaration, About Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it was founded at the Shanghai Summit in 2001 by Russia, China, the Kyrgyz Republic, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Its members are Iran, China, Russia, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, and India as its member. It includes 3 observer states and 6 dialogue partners. Its structure, the Council of Head of States apex decision-making body, is the decision-making body is the Council of Heads of State, Council of Heads of the Government, second highest council. Also, 2 permanent bodies: the Secretariat in Beijing and the Regional Anti-Terrorism Structure RATS in Tashkent. These are the 2 permanent bodies: the Secretariat in Beijing and the Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure in Tashkent. What are the major goals and objectives? We have to address security related concerns, resolving border issues, military cooperation and intelligence sharing, countering terrorism, and cooperation in education, energy, transportation, etc. So this was a nutshell about the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. If it would be asked what are the 2 permanent bodies of it, we should know that it is the Secretariat in Beijing, which is a permanent body, and the Regional Anti-Terrorist Structure RATS in Tashkent, which is in Uzbekistan. What are the key highlights of the summit? Theme towards a secure Shanghai Cooperation Organization: security, economic development, connectivity, unity, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and environmental protection. The secure acronym, it was coined by the PM of India at the 2018 Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. It is the secure, it is the acronym which its full form is as security, economic development, connectivity, unity, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and environmental protection. It was held virtually under the presidency of India. Iran joined as the new permanent member of the group. It also noted the effective activities of the SCO's regional anti-terrorist structure. RATS, as we discussed about it, is the permanent body of the SCO and it is in Tashkent. Let us discuss about the significance, geopolitical significance for India. Through multi-alignment and maintaining strategic autonomy, it allows India to be part of an alternative economic structure in the world as sanctions by the USA on Iran and Russia obstruct trade. Also fostering regional stability, India has been stressing maintaining peace and security based to ensure the collective prosperity of the region. Also, Afghanistan Contact Group was created in 2005 to maintain regional cooperation with Kabul under the auspices of SCO, and discussion and emphasis on emphasizing peace over the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Also, it is significant in strengthening bilateral relations as it facilitates communications between India and other regional countries like China. It promotes regional connectivity platforms to increase Indian soft power and economic cooperation through projects like Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India Tapi Pipeline, INSTC, Chabhar projects, etc. Promoting regional trade and cultural ties, India created 5 pillars and focus areas of cooperation under SCO: startups and innovation, digital inclusion, empowering youth, traditional medicine, and shared Buddhist heritage. For the summit, Kashi, that is Varanasi, has been declared the first tourism and cultural capital of SCO. Also fostering counter-terrorism efforts, strengthening India's counter-terrorism efforts through intelligence sharing and institutional cooperation under RATS. It helps in combating illicit drug trade. 80% of opium and heroin supplies that originate from the Afghanistan-Pakistan region can be collectively tackled by the SCO countries. Also assist to strategic minerals resources. This SCO Shanghai Cooperation Organization can increase India's access to critical natural resources like uranium, which is largely found in Kyrgyzstan, and hydrocarbon resources. About RATS, it operates in accordance with the SCO Charter, the Shanghai Convention on Combating Terrorism, Separatism, and Extremism. It was established in 2001 during Bishkek Summit. It maintains a database of terrorists and terror organizations from across its member countries. Let us discuss about the challenges with the SCO. We have bilateral issues among member states like internal conflicts and trust deficit between member countries like India, Pakistan, and China. China's overbearing presence in the grouping causes an imbalance in its power columns. It is considered as an anti-West grouping. Continued perception of being an anti-West alliance creates challenges for wider global cooperation. Also, projects endangering India's national interests. SCO support for China's Belt and Road Initiative, which violates India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. There are some structural challenges. SCO Charter does not allow any bilateral dispute to be taken up, leading to trust deficits at the bilateral level. Who should know about this point? It may be asked. And also strengthening Sino-Russian axis. Conflicts between Russia and the West have now strengthened the China-Russia axis, further increasing the vulnerability of India to Chinese aggression. This it helps us in further building the China-Russia axis, that is called Sino-Russian axis. Now let us move to the last topic of today's discussion. It is about the Black Sea grain deal. And it was between Russia as they withdrew from the Black Sea grain deal. It was between Russia and Ukraine. Let us discuss more about it. Russia claims that the promises made to it under the deal have not been met, and it is still facing trouble exporting its own agricultural products and fertilizers. According to Russia, Ukraine has since exported mainly to high and middle income countries and only 3% of the poor countries. Let us discuss more about it. What was this Black Sea grain deal? The Black Sea grain deal, it was brokered by the United Nations and Turkey in July last year between Russia and Ukraine. As we know, the long war going between the Russia and Ukraine, it affected many countries as they were the largest producers. As we know, that Ukraine is the largest importer of sunflower, was the largest importer of sunflower oil to India. So it has affected many countries. So to deal with that, this Black Sea grain deal was brought in. Let us discuss more about it. As we know, it was brokered between Russia and Ukraine by United Nations and the Turkey. The deal tackled escalating food prices from supply chain disruptions due to the effective blockage of the Black Sea. Due to this war, the blockage of the Black Sea has been since long, and it affected the supply chain of and it escalated the food prices, and also it provided a safe maritime humanitarian corridor for Ukrainian exports, particularly for food grains, from three of its key ports, namely Chernomorsk, Odisha, and Yuzhny Yevgeny. These are the names. So this deal provided a safe maritime humanitarian corridor for Ukraine exports. The deal was for a period of 120 days with an option to extend or terminate. It was extended between these two countries two times. Now China withdrew from it. What was the impact of the closure of the deal? It led to the inflation in food prices. Grains and oilseed prices have already risen in response to Russia's decision and are expected to rise further. It has impact on Ukraine's farmers. Increased logistic costs mean they have lost to sell at discounted rate. They have to sell at a discounted rate because of the increased logistical costs, and also unequal impact on the poor. The World Food Program and Food and Agriculture Organizations warn that acute food insecurity is escalating, affecting as many as 828 million people worldwide. These developed countries are disproportionately at risk of food insecurity, with several countries facing complex and prolonged humanitarian crises. Also, it has impact on edible oil in India. As I discussed, Ukraine was the main source of sunflower oil to India. Indian imports sunflower and soybean oils to meet domestic demand since the suspension of the deal. Sunflower oil prices have risen in India, and also shortfall of fertilizers. It may intensify as Russia and Belarus are one of the largest sources of mineral fertilizers. So this shortfall of fertilizers, it may also intensify because of that. What is the way forward? Here we have to discuss, we should know that international cooperation is needed to solve the ever increasing conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It can be solved through dialogue, and it should be done as quickly as possible. And also we should strengthen and reform United Nations, as we know that the veto powers for top five countries, it affects, it is structure, it is working, so it is needed, we should reform it. War in Ukraine, climate change and humanitarian rights issues have showed the need for United Nations reforms to represent the entire international community. And also strengthening of the global food supply chain. The nation needs to adopt a cognitive planning, AI driven predictive analytics, advanced track and trace and blockchain technologies to improve global supply chain.